right, a good day to all you devils out there. Sam here with you on Monday, July 23rd. We're kind of midday, and it seems like we might do a little bit of an update here on Bitcoin. We've got enough movement here, and there's some complexity into what's going on here that would warrant us doing a quick update on it. Now, I've got the 15-minute here. Of course, this is the bullish count, which I maintain is still in play. So, and we've been through this now in several videos here, but just to recap, 1, 2, we've got this going up to the 3. So on Friday's video, we had this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5 was in here for the 3. Well, over the weekend, we've had this little spike up here now. So I think that there's a tendency to immediately jump and assume, oh, well, this must be the 4 here, and then the 5 is in here. I do not think that's what we have happening. Now, this can be interpreted a couple of different ways, but I think if you really dig into this down on the smaller time frames, that this is our count. Now, that said, I certainly could be proven wrong. But right now, as I interpret this, I would call this my primary count. I do maintain an alternate, but this is my primary. So I'm sticking with this as a completed third wave here into this 5 here. Now, this little correction here, I think has subdivided here to where we have some complexity. So it's coming off of this, so we note the perfect tap here of the Vegas wave. So it's the straight shot down for the A wave. But then right after that, I get a very clear leading diagonal. I can't ignore that. So you could say, well, if you were thinking, oh, the 4 was over here, well, that might be 1, 2, and up we go. And it looked like that may have been a contender until we saw this reaction. Well, given that, I think this is what we have here is yet another expanded flat. Now, right, so I don't want to lean into that too much, but I don't see another way to count it. And the reason I say another is because of this. Right, so here was the first 1 wave here. We came into this A wave down here. Then we went into a 3-wave B where we took out the wave 1 high. So we have an expanded flat. So we get a 3, 3, 5. Well, actually, I guess we might have I guess we got 1, 2. Whether that's truncated or not. Oh, that's a tricky one, actually. So I think we do have a 3, 3, 5 here. So we get an expanded flat after the 1. That's what I really wanted to focus on there. So we get it yet again here. I would propose to you now, in addition to just my looking at it and thinking that that's what we've got relative to this 5-wave leading diagonal that I have here. The other thing we can do is we can measure. So there's very often, if we're going to go into an expanded B wave, we're looking for a fib relationship from the length of the A wave. So common targets here are the 1272 and the 1382. So if I were going to draw a hot box around that, so I've got to make some changes in my fib tool. So if I go the length of the A and bring it down. Well, when it looked like this, there were a couple of different ways this could have played as it was unfolding. When it looked like we had an ABC into the 786 here, it looked like that was the start of our C wave, but we don't, that's not what we get. And we get this little pop up here. So if I change the settings on my, excuse me. Damn Austin allergies. Okay, so if I change my settings here, I'm going to go to my negative 100. Whoops, that's not what I want. It's a template I keep here. I call it the negative 100, meaning that I'm going beyond 100% of the length of whatever swing I'm measuring. So I will typically use that when I'm looking for something a little bit out of the ordinary. And in this case, I'm using the length of the A, and you'll note here I've gone right up to the 1272 to the tick before I get this reaction. So that gives me a little more confidence in this count here, and that I'm looking for that pattern and this well-established fib relationship between the A and the B going to an expanded flat. So then we rip down here for the C. I'm labeling that now as my 4. So this stays the 3, down for the A. I get a subdivision here into this ABC to kick up here for my C of my B, and then straight down for the C. Now, let me, here, so we'll just, we'll highlight this. So we know this is our little hot box up here for our C wave. So once we know that's there, then we can take this off and go back to our normal setup there. So let me pull that off now. All right, so if we notice that, what that means is to look at the revisit to the median line. So if I put this all back together here, you can see this is the median line pitchfork that we're using, and this tap, tap, tap of the median line seems to be a test for support. We got through it here, but right back now we're moving beyond it here. I think that this is a reasonable count. So if this is my 4, then I'm looking for, well, where'd we get here? So if I look at, if I look at my length of my third wave, proposed third wave as I'm labeling it, get that right on there. Well, now we're coming to the 23, right, which I like a little bit better. So note here, the A wave gets the 23 to the tick. Then I go into this leading diagonal, 3-wave correction for the B, up for the C. I had to go all the way down to the 1 minute to get a get a motive wave out of that, and actually got an impulse out of that C wave there. But it's there, so up we go for the B, then down for the C. We revisit the 23 in the median line, and now we're pushing away from that. So that sets us up for a couple of things. So first question is, all right, well, where are we in the broader count? All right, so let's push this off. So well, let's see here. I guess I'll take that off so we can go through it. So coming off of this my proposed 4th wave here, I come nicely, and actually I get a motive wave, but I get an impulse in that 5. So if I zoom in here a little bit, you can see if I go 1, 2. Here's my wave 1 label high. This is not relevant here because we don't put in the 3 until here. We come down for the 4, and we hold the 1. So I think we've got a full completed 1 wave that has gone in there, and then this little rip down here, some sort of a reaction here. So we finished the 5. So let's look at that. So we'd be looking for, first we'd be measuring for the 2. Get it right on there. So we go 50 to the tick. Here's the first reaction. Rip, we get all the way to the second. So we know this is going to be a proxy for the 1618. So it looks like a good 3. Then if I can do a couple of things here. I look for the length of the 1 through the 3. I come down here as I'm visiting the Vegas wave in the median line. Then we go straight to the algo target. But I'd also be checking for the 2. If I get this, since we have an impulse, putting that right here. So you'll note here now, if this is my 4, if that's my 4, right? If I have that right, we're to the 618 to the tick. And then we scream up, and of course algos get paid, as they so often do. Reaction, we still have some more in it. We don't quite make second target, but then we get the big rip. So now looking at that, just eyeballing that certainly is the deepest retracement, which would imply that sets us up for our 2. Now let me get this right on it. Okay, so if that's a 1, as I had it labeled previously, so let me get this back up here. So that looks like a completed 5 wave into a 2 wave to the golden zone. Anybody surprised? 3, 4, 5 up here. So let's get that up. Okay, so here's our completed 1 wave. There's our rip down for the 2 right to the golden zone. Golden zone holds it, and then we get algos yet again. So you see what just happened there? So algos got this one here, right? They got this one. I just showed it to you. Then they got back to back, right? Golden zone, they get it right here and almost to the second one. So algos are on board. They're playing. They're having a good time so far. So we look here now. If that's 1, 2, so where's our 3? Well, we can just, same thing, guys. Same thing every time. Always the same thing. Well, let's look for the length of our 1 wave projected from our 2. All right, so we're through 100%. Where are we looking for? Well, this is interesting. Well, note what we have here. We have a little confluence. So we have our larger fib target in conjunction with our 3rd wave target for our 5th wave. So what do we get up there? Well, we shall see, but that's a reasonable target. So if I've got 1, 2, and I'm in some sort of a looks like I may have 1, 2, 3 is underway. 4 could be in. We're trying to get up here. I need an impulse here for my 3rd, and that would potentially set us up here for 3, 4, 5 to go that way. So let's back the whole thing out and see if we can put it all together. All right, let's just get you up here. All right, so we have this this algo target up here. So I don't lean into that as heavily as I would. So my priority here is the 1618 because I'm looking at the length of my 3. I'm projecting from the 23.6. That would be a very aggressive front run by an algo. So I think it's less likely. I wouldn't lean into that by itself. Now, the fact that it's there in conjunction with the 1618, our high probability window for the 3rd, I wouldn't ignore it, but that's not typically where you're going to look for an algorithm. Now, they may have used another pivot in here, but then that's going to shrink. So even that, now we'd be looking for potentially extensions here, which there is a line of thinking here that if algo can't get it via swing low to swing high, they'll use a previous high. Right, that's a common technique. You'll note if we go to the prior pivot high here, we get the 50 to the tick, and now we've just hit target. Now that's a whole nother ball of wax that I don't necessarily want to get into right now, but that is something to consider as to how and why this algo target might be at play. But that's a subject for another video. As we think of it, what we're looking for with our Elliott hats on is that we have a strong market. So the shallow 4th wave for us just means that we've done a 23.6, right? So if I come back here, so this 23.6 certainly a valid Elliott count relationship for our 4th wave, right? So most common zone for a 4th, if we just look statistically, it's between 23.6 and the 38. Now, they will very often go down to the 50. But the stronger the market, the more you want to see them stay between the 23 and the 38. That's your classic setup for a 4th. Well, here we get there just barely. So that implies a strong market. And with the visit back to the median line and the fact that we're moving now away, so I wouldn't ignore this, but this would be my priority in terms of the fib relationship that I'm looking for here. Now, if we get a deeper retracement, we can rethink that. But right now, as this goes 1, 2, if we're going to continue to grind higher, that would be where I'd be anticipating the 3rd, looking for the 4 and the 5 to come in. So every time we do something like this, every time we get a retrace and then we push to a new high, we are further validating the bullish count. All right, now let's not forget where we are in the larger scheme of things. So we have to pay attention to the resistance that we know we're going to face from these prior dominant swings. So I've got to go, excuse me, I think I've got to go to the 30-minute. So here was the prior resistance level here, and you can see now we're just now coming up on this pivot here. So let me put that in here. All right, so let's scrunch this up. Yes, I guess I gotta go to the 60. Maybe 45 will do it. All right, let's get this. All right, so here's the big pivot that we're looking for. Here's our last major swing high. All right, so if I go down and I'm going to use the lowest low that I get here. So if you'll note here, now we're just coming into, we're not quite there to the 50. So this is what keeps the bearish count alive, in that what we have labeled as bulls, or I should say what I have labeled, is I've got an A, B, and I finish here with a C. And then this is the start, potentially now, is the start of a new trend. Well, we cannot confirm that until we get on the other side of this 65. We've got to get over 8,500 because the bear looks at this and sees 1, 2, 3, 4 going in before the big 5, which is coming, which should be, so if we're going to pivot at the 50, take us down to new lows relative to this low. Now, the reason I think that, so what that would mean is that this move here took us into a B wave, and that we were just in the process of finishing. So in the bearish count, this would be what I have labeled as A wave, would be 1, 2. This is our impulsive 3, and then the 4 is going in. Well, here's what the problem with that is, as I see it right now. So assuming that we were going to allow for this, this was 1, 2, this was the big 3. Just look at the relationship. That's what I want here. Look at the relationship here of my B wave compared to my, let's get this, to my C wave, or pardon me, my 4th wave. If this is going to play as an ABC, we're looking at that. Now that is not the kind of symmetry we would expect to see in a good Elliott count, or in this case, whether it be an impulse or a diagonal. It just doesn't, that's not good symmetry. So I think that is extremely unlikely to play out. That this is going to play as an ABC into the 50, and we're going down for new lows, because that would mean this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and I do not like that symmetry, and I am willing to bet on that. That's how strongly I feel about that. I would not advise anyone playing that down for new lows. My opinion, take it for what it's worth, but I think that's very problematic for the bears. Now, that doesn't mean that we couldn't run into some resistance here at the 50 and again at the 618. But this move down here to get to new lows strikes me as much less likely given the price action that we're seeing here. Now, am I willing to trade on it? Yes. Right now, would I put somebody else's money into it? Well, you got to make your own decision there. But I don't make that strong a stance here very often. But I would tell you that if you're looking for new lows, if you're looking for new lows if you're putting an Elliott count on this and you're counting this as 1, 2, 3, 4, I want to caution you to maybe think twice about that. How about I say it that way? Will I trade this to the long side? Yeah. Well, one, pretty well established here that I'm a Bitcoin bull and I'm very long Bitcoin, right? But now, as relates to where we are here and what's tradable, I would absolutely trade the 4 into the 5 here. But I certainly wouldn't be buying it as we bump into the 50. So for me, I want to see us get on the other side of this 50, and then I want to see a good looking 4 come into play before I buy that, looking for the 5 and anticipating the 5 is likely to come up here. This would be a reasonable target. So notice the 2618 is coming in just in front of the 618. So interesting, a bit of confluence there as we potentially bump into the upper parallel from the median lines that seem to be holding the market. So if I take that back down here, knowing that resistance is here, now I would leave those on so I don't forget that they're there and where they are in this context. So given that now, having established that, I can bring this down here. So if we think 3, then we're thinking 4, and then going up for the 5. That's the count that I see in play. Meaning, if that does complete, all right, so let's try and put the whole thing together. I would have a completed 1 wave coming off of the double bottom low down here. I'd have a completed 1 wave. Where's the biggest trade opportunity, in my view, assuming we go up here and we complete this? All right, it'll be the next 2. So as we think here, now again, I'm just hypothetical here. So if we complete up here, then there's a great big ABC to come. And that will be the trade, in my view. If you really want to, come here, that thing is sticky. I can never get that thing off. There we go. All right, so it would look like that. So we'd have, from up here, we'd have an A and a B, and we'd be coming down for the C. That's what I think is much more likely. Here is the big trade, and you'd have the benefit. So if you're not in the market, chasing it up here, yeah, if you get a good 3-wave 4, yeah, I would trade the 4 into the 5 and probably will. Would I go heavy there? Probably not. Where I go heavy here? Absolutely. Because this is setting up for what I think is going to be the big trade, and maybe the trade of 2018. Now, heavy emphasis here. If we complete this 5-wave sequence here, we get through the 50, we go up and we challenge this 618. Then I'm looking for the next 2. So if I grab my low here, and now granted, I'm hypothetical here, guys. Hypothetical. If we put our pivot in up here, then I'm going to have this ABC with an opportunity to be a buyer down here in my range where I'm looking for my second, which is between my 50 and my 618. That is the trade that I would be aggressive on. This is just another swing trade. I wouldn't get overly attached to that in terms of getting overly aggressive here on the 4. Ideally, the 4 comes back down here to the median line, and we get this before we shoot up for the 5. That would be the ideal scenario. Down for the A, maybe a revisit to the median line to tap it from underneath before we come back down. That's the big trade that I think is setting up to take us into the last half of the year. Or past, well, I guess we're past half the year. That's the big one that I see setting up. So here, you know, trader's choice if you want to play for that. That's not a bad looking trade. That's from, we'll call it, let's assume we're coming to the median line. That's 2,600 to 8260. Or sorry, pardon me, 7,600 to 8260. You know, certainly tradable. But, you know, I would just be cautious there because the market is still unstable. It's unclear in here. I think it's 345. Shit, I could be wrong. Right? So if we look here, 3-4, when do you confirm? When do we confirm this low? Not until you get up here. Not until I get a clear, clean, where I'm not wondering, well, do I have the 5? Is that an ABC? Does that fit in the broader context? If I go out to the longer time frames, does that fit? This fits, well, as far as I'm concerned, that fits perfectly here. I'm anticipating this to top up here. That's the roadmap that I'm playing right now into the 618. Now, if we get through that, all the better. All that does is validate this as a low, and now I'm absolutely certain I've had a trend change. So, do we get there? Well, we should see this week. Now, we have some interesting timing with some of the fundamental data that's at play in the market. Could be that this timing plays rather nicely here. We shall see. But that is the one, if I can buy Bitcoin again after completing this 5-wave sequence, if I can buy it at 7,000 or below, yeah, that's one I will be aggressive on. But that's me. That's, you know, you trade, you know, your own trading plan, your own risk profile, whatever you're looking at here. Right now, I would not be a buyer, right? Well, again, I got to be careful with my language here. I would not be I would not be buying this for the swing from where we sit right now into the 618 or the 1618. I'd wait for the retracement, right? I'd be buying here at close to the highs of this entire move. So that's not something I would do myself. Now, but if you're just, you know, we're sitting here at 77.11 and you're wanting to be a buyer for the longer term, you know, you might take a small piece there and be looking to average down your price here. That's not how I would do it. So if you're really trying to play the swings here, trade the 4 to the 5, wait. You know, I'm not one for shorting Bitcoin, so I would wait until the C completes, or this might be tradable into the B wave. Let the C happen, then we go big. That's the big one. All right, guys, that ought to do it enough right now. Don't forget to give us a follow over on Twitter. It's Trade Devils. That's our handle over on Twitter. Really work to be active and engaging with our Twitter followers over there. And a lot of times we'll let you guys pick what we're reviewing in video. If you're interested in more, how to apply this and master this methodology yourself, you can consider us over at our website at tradedevils.com. We can learn more about our membership and the members Discord, where you can get full access to all of the training and all of this material, everything that we're doing in every market. Crypto is just one of the, we trade every asset class over there. So once you learn this, you apply it to any market. But the underlying asset makes no difference, which I try to demonstrate here every week. But, you know, the crypto purists are going to want to stay with crypto. No problem. No difference, right? It's still human nature. Fear and greed, fear and greed. All right, guys, that'll be a wrap for the Bitcoin video. See you later.